Doctors got it all wrong. For decades, they've been telling you that chronic stress is something that you just have to deal with. But here's the problem, and here's the truth. Chronic stress leads to high cortisol levels, which are secretly wrecking your health. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to lower your cortisol levels naturally, and here's one of the other keys, is without medication. So let's go ahead and dive in. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski, and as always, it's a pleasure hanging out with you in today's video, helping you improve your health and do so naturally. Now, when we look at cortisol, this is your body's stress hormone. In short term, it's life-saving, but in long term, it's going to cause some problems. Cortisol is going to be that hormone that gives you that fight or flight response. But when it stays high for days, for weeks, maybe even years, it's going to lead to excess belly fat, brain fog. It'll also cause insomnia, high blood sugar, and even lead to something as bad as heart disease. So this little hormone can quietly be ruining your health. But here's the thing about cortisol that's really interesting, is that many of us hear of cortisol and think of it always as something bad. But the truth is, cortisol is good, but in the right dose response. So let me give you an example. So if you are someone who is stressed in a short duration, let's say that you have a stressful event that occurs in your life, cortisol is going to be released during this physical or psychological stress that you encounter. And what it's going to do is help raise your blood sugar, which is going to make nutrients available for immediate use, right? Raise your blood sugar so that you have the energy to run from the tiger, to flee the scene of that place of stress. And it's going to prepare your body, temporarily boosting alertness. And also, it's going to increase cardiovascular function so that you are able to act immediately. So that's a healthy stress response. That's something that is designed to keep us alive. Let me give you another example. It will also have an anti-inflammatory effect in your body. For example, cortisol will suppress excessive immune responses that will prevent tissue damage, right? So if you're someone who is maybe dealing with an autoimmune crisis, well, that's when your immune system starts to cause tissue damage. Cortisol could actually prevent that. And also, it's going to help regulate inflammation in the body, which is going to be critical for time of infection, but not good if it endures long term. So therefore, it has this amazing response in the body, but only in short duration. Now, when you have cortisol that is chronically high in your body, let's talk about what that does, because though it can be beneficial in short bursts, it's damaging when it's long term. So for instance, cortisol will have a negative metabolic effect on your body. Let me share with you how. It's going to increase your blood sugar. Cortisol stimulates a process known as gluconeogenesis in the liver. And what this is going to do is raise your blood sugar up. It can cause chronic elevation of your blood sugar, which ultimately then starts to lead to insulin resistance and puts you at risk for type 2 diabetes. It causes fat accumulation. It promotes fat storage. We could see how that's beneficial short term in a bad scenario. Maybe there's no food around, right? However, long term, it can lead to visceral fat and also fat around your abdomen. And then furthermore, it can actually cause cardiovascular issues. Let me give you some details on that, because many of you are actually suffering from cardiovascular issues today, such as high blood pressure. Cortisol can actually increase your sensitivity to catecholamines and affect sodium retention, both of which raise blood pressure. Also, it increases your cardiovascular risk. High cortisol will contribute to atherosclerosis, heart attacks, and even the risk of stroke. Furthermore, it'll have a negative impact on your immune system, your brain, your mood. So if you're someone who's suffering from anxiety and depression, and here's one of the things I mentioned from the very onset of this video. How can we lower this naturally without medication? And I say this because I recently had a patient who came to me and said, hey, I'm dealing with this cortisol issue, these hormone problems, and then I'm just anxious all the time. And my doctor wants to put me on an anti-anxiety, an antidepressant, right? But instead, we could actually solve these problems naturally, and I'm showing you how today. But first, let me share with you just a few more negative effects of cortisol. It can have a hormonal disruptive pattern, causing your hormones to be all out of balance. It'll decrease libido. It'll also have a negative impact on your skin health and your bone health. In fact, cortisol will actually block calcium absorption and cause osteoporosis. And also, as it pertains to your skin health, and this one actually was interesting for even me, when you have a high amount of cortisol in your system from a high amount of physical or psychological stress, it actually causes poor wound healing and skin thinning. Okay, skin thinning is something that happens naturally as we age, so we certainly don't want to increase this process because it causes sagging skin and wrinkles and everything else. And so chronic cortisol slows collagen synthesis, collagen production, therefore thinning your skin. So how do we lower this cortisol? That's why we're here. How do we do it without medication, right? Because doctors are saying you need medication in order to solve this problem in many cases. Well, there's some interesting studies on this, and I'm actually going to give you 3 different ways to lower cortisol naturally in your home starting today. The first is going to be looking at some research from UC Davis and Harvard. And what they say is gratitude. Having gratitude is incredibly powerful at lowering your stress response. Collaboration between UC Davis and Dr. Joe Dispenza, they found when doing their studies that when you practice gratitude, it'll lower cortisol. Furthermore, it'll lower your blood pressure, blood sugar, reduce inflammation markers, improve the immune system up to 49.5% by increasing immunoglobulins IgA, and also an antibody that plays a critical role in your immune function. And so then, beyond that, there was Harvard, who did a study published in JAMA Psychiatry in 2024, and what they found is that practicing gratitude is linked to decreased stress and linked to living a longer life. And they did this study on thousands and thousands of people. It's very interesting. So what can you do to practice gratitude? Basically, every morning you could journal and do a gratitude journal. Put down 5 things you're thankful for every morning. If you can't think of 5, put 3. And when you put this down in your journal, meditate on them for 3 to 5 minutes. When you put down these items that you're thankful for, and you have this gratitude journal, and then you focus on them for a while, it helps reduce stress. Because basically what was found is that when you are grateful and you practice gratitude, it has an inverse relationship with cortisol and the stress response in the body, meaning that you can't be stressed at the same time. You can't be grateful for your life around you and have a tremendous amount of stress all happening at once. The two things go in opposite directions. So therefore, that is one way that you can simply lower cortisol starting right now, as soon as you get done watching this video. Now, the other thing that we could use here is supplementation, right? Because whenever we're trying to accomplish making a natural yet positive change in the body, we want to use multiple layers, so to speak. We want to use not only gratitude, but then we can actually use supplementation. There's a few particular ingredients that have been really shown to move the needle in lowering cortisol. One of them is magnolia extract, and this is a herb that has a history of decreasing the stress response and the feeling of anxiousness. And most importantly, it's been used to help lower cortisol. Now, the next thing is ashwagandha extract. It has the amazing ability to offer stress prevention and cognitive enhancing benefits to your body, and also the ability to help you lower your cortisol. Furthermore, you can use L-theanine, which has been shown to help reduce cognitive stress and also still help you maintain alertness while feeling calm, ultimately helping lower the cortisol response in the body. There's a few other ingredients, but what I'll do is I'll put a link below to a formula that we utilize clinically all the time called cortisol balance. It not only has these ingredients, but has some others in it which have been clinically shown to lower stress in the body and also lower that amount of cortisol so you don't have the issue with fat storage and insulin resistance and inflammation and immune deregulation all going on in your body. This is why it's so important to make sure that we're doing everything we can in order to lower cortisol. So we're not only going to start practicing gratitude, but also we could use some different nutrients, things found in nature, in order to help lower cortisol. And I'll put a link in the description below. Now, there's another really important thing that you can do to help lower stress. It's widely used by the Navy SEALs, athletes, and of course, a lot of professionals who are under a tremendous amount of stress. And that is box breathing. Box breathing is a breathing exercise where you're going to inhale through your nose over the course of 4 seconds. And then you will hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then you'll exhale it through your mouth for 4 seconds, and then you'll hold your breath again for 4 seconds, and you will repeat that cycle. And then by repeating that cycle for 3 to 5 minutes, you will dramatically decrease the stress response in your body and help you feel more calm. These are the 3 top ways that you can start reducing cortisol in your body today. So I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more on how to improve your health naturally, watch this video next.